Vani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitattvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakhattvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadashi, the 7th chapter, Trupti Deepta Prakaranam by Vidyaranya Swami. Now we are discussing, after gaining the knowledge of the nature of the reality through the indirect knowledge, through the Shastra Pramana, and now Aparoksha Jnanam by directly inquiring into the nature of these Mahavakyas that point out that you are that truth. So the object of realization is myself, and I know myself, but only thing is I have to drop the wrong notions through the Vedanta Vichara, because my real nature is I am Sat, Chit and Anantam, therefore Ananda Swarupam also. And having known this knowledge is not internalized. So we have Srotavyaha, Mantavyaha. We have listened to the scripture for a long length of time, discussed with, to make sure that there are no doubts left on that. So we have crystal clear knowledge, but only problem is that knowledge has not been synced in. So I know I am Brahman, but when I am transacting in the world, because I cannot but transact in the world as long as the body, mind and intellect is there, and the body, mind, intellect will be there because of the prarabdha karma. So the realization knowledge will not eliminate, will not destroy the body, mind, intellect or the world. Knowledge only eliminates the ignorance, because knowledge is opposite to ignorance only. So therefore, knowledge of whether it's the Paroksha Jnanam or Aparoksha Jnanam, it only eliminates the Ajnanam that is involved, and therefore it eliminated that I know that I am the totality, and I am the substantive for the world also, that I learned from the scriptures, and that's what is the Mahavakya Vichara involves. But having learned also, when I'm transacting in the world, I get carried away with the notion that the world is real and I'm different from the world. That comes because of the remaining ragadveshas. Because my mind has not been purified enough before I entered into the Vedantic class. So nowadays, in olden days, we mentioned that they used to go to Gurukula, and the teaching doesn't start immediately, because what teacher knows that the mind need to be purified. Impurity of the mind is due to wrong notions or wrong understanding of the mind. And those wrong notions are so deep rooted, because I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, has been coming from generation to generation, and not only generation, life after life after life. And even through this life, whole life, I have been living with the notion that I am the body, I am the mind, and I am the intellect, and the world is different from me. Because of these notions, which are strongly ingrained in the habitually involved, so when I transact in the world, even though I have gained the knowledge through Sravanam and Mananam that I am indeed the substantive of the whole universe, that has not been synced in, or what you call internalized. I know it is a correct knowledge. I know that is a truth, but yet the truth is cannot be believed. So that's why the J. Krishnamurti says it's not an understanding as a thought, but it's an understanding as understanding as a fact. Fact is Aham Brahmasmi, but when I'm transacting it, I distinguish that world is different from me. So if I am the substantive, I am also should be involved in the whole universe as a substantive. So sarvabhutastham sarvabhutanacham. One who sees oneself everywhere and also everything in him only. So everything is not different from him. Everything in him means he is not separate from that. Only names and forms are separate, but in and through the names and forms, the substantive is I am. Or from the bhakti point, we mentioned that Yomam pasyati sarvatra sarvancha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranasyami sasame na pranasyati. The one who sees me everywhere and everything in me, he is never away from me, nor I am from him. So that understanding has not sinked in. So why? The problem is only remnant ragadveshas. So I don't have to go back to karma yoga, upasana yoga, and this is the problem with many of the seekers in the world, where even though they have been studying Vedanta for many years, they feel that they are not internalized because of the ragadveshas remaining wrong. The mind is not been purified enough. Purified enough to listen to Vedanta, but not purified enough to internalize and keep the knowledge all the time. So what is the solution? Keep the knowledge all the time. So how? That becomes a meditation. So whenever my mind is moving away, yato nischarite manas chanchalamasstiram tatastato niyamyaitadu. Krishna says, whenever the mind has drifted away from the truth, bring it back. So that becomes a nididhyasana for a person who has understood, who is a jnani, but not jnana nishtha. So it's called nishtha, means firm abidance in the truth. And Ramana Maharshi called it dudhaiva nishtha, firm abidance, or jnana nishtha. Jnanam is knowledge is there, but jnana nishtha is not there. Jnana nishtha is because of obstacles. I mentioned three obstacles. One is about the pramana, the sankha, that means doubting about the pramana itself. Why? The shastra is one shastra tells something, another shastra tells something else, and to get rid of that, we have to have a systematic study under a teacher. That should remove at least the doubt about the pramana. And I should have the prameya sankhya, means how can I be infinite? My experience shows that I am finite, but how can I be? How can I be this? How can I be carpet? How can I be garbage and all that? So here is the carpet and the garbage and all that are only superficial names and forms. In and through, I am the very existence that supports everything. So seeing the existence in and through one is called samadrushti. Equal drishti is where I am seeing the differences outside, differences, at the same time I am seeing in and through the samatvam, the one that pervades the same thing in all. Just as seeing gold in the ring, in the bangle, in the necklace, in the bracelet, like a goldsmith, he only looks at how much gold it is. So his vision is not in terms of names and forms. His vision is not in terms of the attributes of each one. Even though ring is still considered a ring and a bangle is a bangle and so on, for transactional purposes he uses that names and forms. At the same time, the value of that, the weight of that depends upon how much gold it is. Same way, a jnani has to operate while transacting in the world. Names and differences and all that different, attributive differences are different. At the same time, have the knowledge that substantive is the same. And it's not really illogical, because even as a scientist we mentioned, once we recognize that every material is nothing but electrons, protons and neutrons. So even when I am looking at the whole world, I can have samadrushti, equal vision, by looking at every object, because every object is nothing but made up of electrons, protons, neutrons only. So from the point of the basic fundamental materials, there is no difference. So substantively they are same, but the attributive content is different because of the packaging, how they are packed. How they pack into one atom, and also how the atoms are packed, you get different varieties of properties. Same carbon packed in one way, you call it as a coal, another packed in another way, you call it a graphite, and in a packed third way, you call it a diamond. So diamond is precious, whereas the coal is used for burning, and graphite is in between, where you use for graphite for specific purposes. So therefore, even though the essence is the same, the properties differ by in which they are packaged. And the same way, every object in the world, only the packaging is different. What's the essence? Essence is that which objective scientists cannot discover, but what Vedanta says, the essence is nothing but pure existence itself in all the inert things, in the living things, existence and consciousness, and in the jnani, existence, consciousness and Ananda. So three aspects, Sat, Chit, Ananda. So this Sat, Chit, Ananda gets expressed. It's the same, all together is Brahman, but Brahman gets expressed depending upon the medium of expression. Just as light gets reflected depending upon the medium that is reflecting. So if the medium is that which absorbs all other colors except red, then I see it's a red color. If it absorbs all other colors except blue, then it looks blue color. If it doesn't absorb any colors, then it's white color. It absorbs all colors, then it is black color. So the color of an object depends upon the capacity of that instrument to absorb and only reflect certain wavelengths only. In the same way, in the pure Satchidananda, even though all pervading, only gets expressed as existence only, because it reflects only the existence and not the consciousness and Chit and Ananda. Only in wherever there is a subtle body, a subtle material, then not only existence but consciousness also gets reflected depending upon the purity of the subtle body. And if the mind is completely calm and serene, then not only existence and consciousness but also the Ananda gets reflected. So depending upon the reflecting medium, expression of Satchidananda expresses in different ways. And now this obstruction for not having a jnana nishta is in terms of, because of still have ragadveshas. So here the Vidyaranya gives you the methodology of how you have to contemplate on it continuously wherever you can. In the process, you withdraw yourself from unnecessarily activities where mind doesn't have to get involved, and therefore do only your obligatory duties. Obligatory duties depending upon your role you have to play. So if you are a father, you have an obligation to be a father. So therefore you have to take care of the children for them providing the necessary until they grow up on their own. So therefore the duties of a father has to be. It's nothing to do with the attachments and love and all that. Once you have done your duty, you can wash your hands, they are on their own, because you have done your part. And the same way, a father role, or mother role, or a son role, or a sister role, or a brother role, all roles will have, and roles can have problems. But one you are playing is, as long as within the limits that are available, you have to play the role as best as you can. Because the mind is limited, body is limited, intellect is limited, and the circumstances are limited, and therefore that are beyond your control. Therefore, whatever that you can do, your best has to be done, and that comes out best provided you have Ishwararpita Buddhi. You do it not for any particular things, but for the benefit, for the offering to the Lord. In that case, whatever you do becomes a devoted action, and devoted action will not affect you. So yajnartam karma anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Yajnartam means for Lord's sake of the Lord also, because Lord is considered as the name of Lord also in the Vishnu Sahasranama beside is also Yajnaha. So Yajnartam means Ishwararpita Buddhi has to be there, and Prasada Buddhi will come provided I invoke the presence of the Lord. Since the Lord is everywhere, so Yat Karoshi Yat Darshanasi Yat Juhoshi Dadasi Yatu Yat Tapasyasi Kaunteya Tat Kurushomadarpanam. Whatever you do, offer it to me. Whatever you eat, offer it to me. Because He is there inside, outside, Antar Bahischa Tat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Sthitaha. So therefore, that attitude should be there. And therefore, with that, the withdrawing from the unnecessarily self-indulgence is important. Only do whatever is required. And here we are emphasizing that once I know that this particular one is going to give you a problem, because in all these sense enjoyments, there is a problem in trying to gain it, a problem, trying to preserving a problem, if you lose also you have a problem. So coming from the wealth point, earning wealth is a problem, effort is required, and maintaining wealth is a problem, and also if you lose a wealth also there is a problem. So in terms of what needs to be done has to be careful, and therefore it is essentially one has to be careful in dealing with the vasanas and so on. Can you go on out? Hello? Okay, let's do 142. Shudaya pīdyamānopi na visham hyattu miccati mishtannadvamsatrum jnananna mudasat jigatsati. So together, Shudaya apīdyamānopi na visham hyattu miccati mishtannadvastatrun jnananna mudastat jigatsati. So here it says, if I realize that everyone is going to give a problem, a sense enjoyment involves a dukkha misritatvam, asantruptikaram, and bandhakatvam. So any happiness that I get has three defects. One is, number one, dukkha misritatvam. It's mixed with the suffering. And suffering we mentioned, suffering in gaining it, suffering in preserving it, suffering in if we lose it also. That we give example of the wealth. So to gain, you have to work hard, and to maintain it, to make sure that others don't steal it, to preserve it, and that is a struggle to maintain it. And if I lost it, or if it's spent, then again there is a suffering. So in all these things, there is a dukkha misritatvam, and then asantruptikaram. Even if it gives happiness, it gives only temporary happiness, because it never gives me permanent happiness, because it's not there in the product. A finite object can give you finite happiness at the most, depending upon your longing for it, because there is no happiness in the object. Depending upon your longing for it, a finite object can only give you finite happiness. I am expecting infinite happiness from a finite object, because your expectations are wrong, because it's not there in the system. So therefore, every object will give you asantruptikaram, because it will not satisfy, because it's like a pouring ghee. That's what he's going to tell us. So therefore, the asantruptikaram becomes a fundamental problem in all sense enjoyments. And this should be remembered when you are enjoying it. And before, for a Vedantic student, before entering into the Vedanta, this has been mind has been prepared. But if it is not prepared, then you have to go through that process after the knowledge has gained. So whether mind should learn Vedanta or not, if it is not prepared, If you can listen and talk, listen to the talks and listen to the Vedanta, that means mind is prepared enough at least to listen. And the more now, listening itself should purify the mind more and more. Listening and contemplating on it. Therefore, Nididhyasana, scripture itself realizes the problem. Therefore, after Srotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasavyaha is there. I mean, contemplating on the teaching, because the teaching has not been seen. If the mind is already prepared, that's called Uttamadhikari. Uttamadhikari means supreme, the most qualified student, like Nachiketas of the Kathopanishad, where listening itself is sufficient, Sravanam itself is sufficient for a prepared mind. For unprepared mind, depending upon the degree of the impurities left, then you have to do Nididhyasanam. Some people can take only 3 years, like in Nisargadatta Maharaj, apparently took only 3 years, and then he realized, because his mind was purified enough, either in this life or in the previous life. And some people are immediately, as soon as they're born, they get knowledge immediately, because that preparation of the mind has been done in the past. That's what Krishna says in the 6th chapter, when Arjuna asks, what happens to a person who has prepared but not gained in this life? He says, nothing is wasted here, because this is a life, continuous life process. If something is stored, vasanas are stored, this also gets stored. So therefore, nothing will be wasted. So he will be born in a conducive environment for his rapid growth. That's why we see Mahatmas, suddenly they change and immediately proceed, including even Ravana Maharshi also. He was, until the teenager, he was normal boy, but other than that, there is nothing superior. But suddenly, he wanted to experience death, because there was a death in the family, and that triggered him into something else. So therefore, something that triggers because of the Purva Janma Sukrutam only. Here he gives an example. If I realize that there is something, these enjoyments will give me problems later, therefore it gives me bandhakatvam. There is a third effect. We talked about the asantruptikaram, the dukkhamishritatvam, and the third defect is bandhakatvam. In any enjoyment of sense objects, it gives you bondage, because now I develop a vasana, an inclination to either to repeat or to reject. So if I like it, I want to repeat that experience again because I liked it. That becomes an impression, a subtler impression in the mind, and that's what is called vasanas. So therefore people have developed likes and dislikes. They like to do certain things and they don't like to do other things, whereas other people like these things that this fellow doesn't like because of the differences in the vasana. It's nothing to do with the objects, because of the value system that is superimposed on the objects because of my own inclinations. So there is a Ishvara Srushti, there is a Jiva Srushti on top of it. Ishvara Srushti creates equally, it's the same thing for everybody. But I like certain things and I don't like other things. Other fellow likes these things that I don't like, and he doesn't like the things I like, because now we are superimposing a Jiva Srushti on top of the Ishvara Srushti. And that's where the problem is. Why? Because that's called bondage. Bandhakatvam is bondage. Bondage by what? Bondage by my own ragadveshas. Ragadveshas is my likes and dislikes. And here, once I understand this problem, then I should be careful in indulging myself in things or developing new vasanas. It's not running away from the world, but enjoy yuktahara viharaha. There is a moderation in the operation. Food, body needs food. Doesn't mean that body has to only eat pizzas and things like that. That is your demand of your likes and dislikes. Body needs, according to your own requirements, certain carbohydrates, minerals, vitamins, and so on. That's what the body requires to maintain itself. But I want this and not that, and so on and so forth, or your superimposed value system on top of the objects, and that comes because of your own vasanas. So here Vidyaranya gives you a simple analogy. So Chudaya, by the hunger, Pidyamanopi, even though he is very hungry and suffering out of the hunger, Amudaha, a one who knows, or a jnani, Visham Attum Nahi Ichchati. So he says he's ready to drink a good hot cup of milk that he is longing for, and suddenly somebody says, hey, there may be not necessarily, there may be a drop of poison there. Potential cyanide may be there a little bit, but it's maybe too small, don't worry about it. So if you do drink that one, once I realize that there is something, that poison, then immediately, even though I am so hungry and all that, a little bit of poison, that knowledge itself will not make me to drink that. Same way, says that once I know that this is going to give me a bondage, then I had to reject it, because this is repercussions will be a lot more later. So here he gives an example. Shudaya pidyamanopi amudaha visham attum nai ichchati. So ishtam annad, another example is ishtam annadvastastrun, the one who has ishtam annam, that means one who has eaten delicious food almost to the full. So he is almost to the end, up to the throat he has eaten, then is satisfied with the sumptuous food, and jana, knowing that tatna na jigat sati. So now you bring him a beautiful, delicious food that he likes very much. Now he doesn't want to eat that. Why? Because he's almost to the full, to the neck. So therefore, once who has satisfied completely, and for that person, he has no more desire. The same way, a jnani is the one who is satisfied by himself. How does he satisfy? Because he understood that happiness is not out there. Happiness comes from himself only, and the himself that is full by himself. That means Atmani eva atmanatushtaha. Any happiness comes from only oneself only. We think the happiness is from out there, but when I have a strong desire, my mind is agitated, and when the agitated mind is exposed to the thing that I like, my mind has become calm and quiet, and therefore the happiness is not from the object, but happiness is from the mind, which is calm and quiet. But that situation is occurred because of the desire fulfillment. But if I can get the same mind, contented mind which is truptaha, and that means I am contented by myself as I am. Therefore, I don't depend on anything other than myself for my happiness. So therefore, I am liberated. I don't depend. So slavery is any dependence other than yourself. That's called slavery. And any dependence on other than yourself becomes a bondage, because I depend on that. If it is good, I am happy. If it is not good, I am unhappy, and I am running after to get this, to get that, because I depend on them. If I don't depend on them, then I won't run for it. So therefore, my dependence or my value system makes me to go like a rat race from morning to evening and whole life itself, because I want this, I want this, I want this, and so on and so forth. But if I realize that all that have little bit of visham is poison, because it makes me bound, bandhakatvam is there, because now I depend on it. If I depend on it, if I realize it, I am intelligent enough, then I have to withdraw my mind. So this is how the habits form. A cigarette smoking, first time he may not enjoy, and second time, once it starts depending on it, then I cannot live without the cigarette. And he doesn't want his son to smoke, but he is ready to smoke, because he is not ready to give up that habit. Habits are very difficult to remove. One Swami said, it's a habit. How do you spell habit? H-A-B-I-T, at least one spelling. Another spelling is H-A-B-B-I-T. So habit, H-A-B-A-I-T. So it's very hard to get rid of habits. Why? Even if you remove H, a bit still remains, because if you remove H, I-B-I-T will be still there. A bit is still remain, and if you remove I, still bit remains, and if you remove B, it still remains. only when the little I understands the truth T, that is one, that I am the absolute happiness by itself, I don't need on that, then only the habits become a vibhuti. Vibhuti means it's a snake that is where the pongs have been removed. So you become essentially forgot the name. He is a Pannaga Bhushana. So all these vasanas are nothing but pannagas. It's a pictorial representation according to the Indian methodology. In fact, any religion, in all religions, snake is called the Saturn, or his vasanas are called snakes. And it's, if you remove the poison, its snake is beautiful by itself. And Lord Shiva wears it around its neck and around his hands also, and he is called Pannaga Bhushana. So why? Because the desires have been pulled, the forms have been removed, and it's only becomes a Bhushanam. And Lord Vishnu lies on top of it like a Dunlop, like the Adiseshu. There's nothing but all the vasanas have been removed, and the Lord Adisesha is looking towards the Lord, because turn inwards, looking at the Lord. So all my sense organs and the mind and intellect are turning inwards, looking at Atma. That's what is the self-contemplation and meditation is. So here we are talking about, by knowing that a little bit poison, there is no more desire to eat. Or one who is completely full with Ishtabodhana, with all the delicious food that he likes, now you bring another plate, he says no more. That's enough, I don't want anything. So he has no desire to eat it anymore, even though he likes it. Hey, you like this, some more, why don't you eat some more? He says no more, one is enough. So just as coffee, people depend on coffee, cup of coffee in the morning, coffee, but one cup of coffee is satisfied. Sir, you like the happiness in the cup of coffee, why don't one more cup? So second cup he may tolerate, third cup it becomes a misery. The same cup which was a happiness has become a misery because it's not in the cup. It depends upon the mind. A satisfied, contented mind doesn't need anything else. And that's what is called, this whole chapter is Trupta Jnanam. Now we'll read 143. So Prarabdha Karma is being discussed now in terms of the Jnani versus Ajnani. Sloka 143. Prarabdha karma prabalyat, prarabdha karma prabalyat, bhogesh vichcha bhavedjadi, bhogesh vichcha bhavedjadi, klisyanneva tadashesha, klisyanneva tadashesha, bhunkte vishti gruhitavatu, bhunkte vishti gruhitavatu. Together. Prarabdha karma prabalyat, bhogesh vichcha bhavedjadi, bhogeshu ichcha bhavedjadi, klisyanneva tadashyesha, bhunkte vishti gruhitavatu. So prarabdha karma prabalyat, because of the prabalyam, because of the strength of prarabdha karma, bhogeshu yadi ichcha bhaved, even in the jnani, ones who knows Srotavya mantra, even understand, because of the prarabdha karma, because of the force of the prarabdha karma. So bhogeshu yadi ichcha, if the desire happens, bhaved, tadapi, even then, Esha, the wise person, Klishyan eva, without real enjoyments, Vishti gruhitavatu, this is bhunkte. He enjoys the object as Vishta gruhitavatu, as though he is dealing with a ghost. Vishta gruhitavatu, as though he is dealing with some illusory things. So he goes through drama. It's basically drama, you can say. Instead of here, he is talking about a ghost here, illusory ghost. The ghost itself is illusory. But like one who possessed of ghost, he enjoys the whatever that he liked before. So he is dealing with the object of his desire, as he deals. Because the prarabdha karma will make him to do certain things because of the desire, vasanas are still there, ragadveshas are still there. Even for a jnani, see, simple example is, even for a jnani, if you suppose a jnani, different jnanis, one from South India and one from South India. So even for a jnanis, two jnanis if you take, and both are realized that there is no happiness outside. So anything is only for to maintaining the body, he has to eat. So but both jnanis are brought in, and you have a buffet dinner, and you have all the mix of South Indian and North Indian food available there. Now you will ask them to go and eat, take whatever you want. So now because of the prarabdha karma, even though the prarabdha karma, because one has been brought up as a South Indian, and therefore he goes and picks up those dishes only that he likes. Whereas the North Indian will pick up something that he likes, which is different from what South Indian Swami has picked up. And an American Swami may pick up something completely different. So depending upon what the prarabdha, that means in the previous habits that have come in, all those vasanas will propel you to act in particular way. So therefore, the other person say, hey, he also taking same thing, and I am talking, I love this, and he is also loving. What's the difference between me and him? So in one case, I depend for my happiness on that, whereas in this case, even though that gives him happiness, he doesn't depend on it. It's like he plays the game as a role, so enjoys the game as long as he's in the scene. So therefore, an actor playing, even though he's an actor now, he knows that he is an actor and he is not really a role that he is playing. He can play the role beautifully, in fact better than a real fellow. A beggar, he may be playing, a millionaire was asked to play a role of a beggar. So he may play the role of a beggar better than a real beggar on the street, with all the background music also. Why? Because he knows that he is not really a beggar, and therefore he can play the role better than real beggar, because he is not really suffering as a consequence of that, even though he acts like a suffering. Also, a rich person, a king in the drama, in the next scene he may be a king. So in the next scene he may be enjoying as a king with all the luxuries of a kingdom, but even though he never forgets that I am an actor playing the role of a king. After the scene is over, he knows that he is only an actor. He doesn't behave like a king outside also. People will put him in hospital if he behaves like that. So an actor playing different roles is different from, so he knows that he is an actor and not the roles. Same way, Jnani knows that I am pure Satchidananda, yet because of the prarabdha karma, he has to play, because he is in the drama of the life. He has to play either a son or a father or a teacher or whatever role need to be played, and the body, mind, intellect are the property that he has to take care. He cannot end the body, mind, intellect by himself. So as long as the body, mind, intellect require certain things, and the body, mind, intellect have been used to have certain the habits, and as long as those habits are fulfilled, he will go for that. So just because I am a jnani doesn't that I have to suffer and sitting in the hot sun. If the air conditioned room is available, I will just go there and sleep in the air conditioned room. Hey, you are a jnani, you should not be comfortable there. Actually, there was a story of I was told that when they were opening ceremony of the Benares Hindu University, that was a long time ago, they invited a Mahatma from because it's a Benares Hindu University, the name Hindu is there in the name. So they invited one Mahatma from the Himalayas for the inaugurate function. And that Mahatma came all the way, that's great sannyasi, and he was given an accommodation, and there when he went to his room, and it's all a Dunlop AC room and a Dunlop bed and all that, comfortable, to make sure that the Swami is comfortable. But so I say, where is my mat? Where is the deer skin and all that? So where do they get now deer skin in the Benares city? Run after, so they had to run all over the world to get for him to sleep on on a mat in a deer skin. So this Swami got habituated to sleep only in that. So in what way he is different from another person who is habituated to sleep in a Dunlop bed in the AC room? So any dependence other than yourself is a bondage. That's what has to be understood. It doesn't matter whether it's a luxury or it's a pleasure. So if you want to eat garbage and you are happy with that and you want to depend on it, then that also become a problem. So we are talking about prarabdha karma. So even though the prarabdha karma is there and propel you for having a particular thing, you enjoy it only, but enjoying as though you are enjoying in a dream. That's what essentially it says. And we'll do some more of this in the next talk. Stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.